Okay, now good morning all of you. So yesterday only we have learned about this topic, resources and development, and yesterday I have explained a few topics of this chapter about the resources, what are the resources and in how many types these are classified, renewable, non-renewable, what is renewable resources, what is non-renewable resources. Now we will continue with the topic. Up to yesterday we have up to explain international resources. Okay, yesterday we have learned three type of classification of resources. First one on the basis of origin, second one on the basis of exhaustibility, and the last one was on the basis of their ownership. Okay, and yesterday only. Okay, now let us recall whatever we have learned yesterday. Simple overview. First one is resources, means whatever we are getting from nature, by using the technology to fulfill our needs, okay, to use it in a good form. Okay, these all the things are used as resources. All these things are known as resources. It is of two types, renewable and non-renewable. Renewable, which we can reuse it, okay, and non-renewable, which we can't reuse it, but and these are of one more differentiation in it is that renewable resources. Renewable resources. Renewable resources are those resources which never going to be exhaust means which will not going to be extinct after a particular time or after so many years. No, it will not going to be extinct because okay, and example for those are soil, wind, water, sun rays, etc. All the things these type of renewable resources are not going to be extinct. And another examples of now next one is non-renewable resources. This will going to be extinct after a particular use if we use it in a huge amount, in a mass, and if we are using it gradually, so it will going to be extinct after a particular time. Next thing, the classifications. Classification on the basis of origin means in which form we are getting it. Okay, and next one, classification on the basis of exhaustibility, which resources going to be exhaust means extinct and which will not going to be exhaust. Next one, classification on the basis of ownership. Okay, which type of resources can be owned by an individual, by a community, by a national owner, by an international ownership. Okay, until now we have understood this much. As you can see in this picture, this is the resource which this is the example of individual ownership, this one is the example of community ownership, this one is the example of national ownership, and lastly this one is the example of international ownership. Now we will discuss the remaining part of this chapter. Classification on the basis of development. On the basis of development, the fourth one, classification. Development means which type of resource had developed, okay, and how we are using it. For example, quality wise, quantity wise, which resources we are getting from nature and from a proper production in a good form. Okay, so in a developed form. This type of classification will going to explain this. Okay, now we will study this. These are also under classified in potential resources and developed resources. First, fourth one, classification on the basis of development. Which resources, which type of resources has developed itself, okay, by their quality wise, by their quantity wise, by the measurements, by in which form they are we are getting it. First one in the classification of development is the potential resources. Potential resources. What are the potential resources? Potential resources are those resources which have already been found in a particular area, but they are in bulk amount, but we are not using it gradually, continuously. They the particular resources had been kept over there. We are not using those type of resources. These are known as potential resources. The resources found in a particular area particular area which have not been utilized, which have not been used by the humans. Understood? Means again I'm explaining this, the resources at that particular place we have resources in a bulk amount, okay, in a huge amount, but still we are not using those resources in a proper way. We can say not in getting in proper amount, quantity wise also we are not taking it the advantage of that particular resources. Okay, these are the, those resources are the meaning of potential resources. Example for that resources are wind and solar energy. For example, in Rajasthan, as we take the example of Rajasthan, we can see Rajasthan is good in some type of resources, but as we can find the resources like minerals, metals and etc. For such type of resources, Rajasthan is not rich in those resources, but still, and water resources also, Rajasthan is not that much good in water resources, but still there are some resources in which Rajasthan is much more prosperous than the other states. Okay, so what type of resources? Wind and solar energy. In Rajasthan, we all know that wind and solar energy is being used in a mass or in a maximum amount. For example, we all know that the average season or the average weather of Rajasthan probably was the summer season. We all know that. So if we take the example of solar energy, we can store the solar energy by using the solar panels from the sun rays. Okay, we can make the solar energy, but still in Rajasthan we are not taking that advantage properly. As for example, in our houses also we can set up the solar panels at our roofs, we can set up solar panels at the offices, companies, etc. We can set up this, and we can store the solar energy from the sun rays by using solar panels. We can do these things and generate the electricity by using solar energy, but still we are not using this resource as a proper amount. Okay, because what happens, some humans and some people think that it will become more costlier than the electricity which we are using, which we are getting from the powerhouses. Okay, so this one will be one of the example for not using a good resource. Getting a good resource but not using in a proper amount is example of potential resource. Now is the developed resources. Developed resources are those resources that we have found that in this region, in this area, we are getting the resource in a proper amount and we have worked on it. Humans, researchers, scientists, everyone have worked on it and we are using it in a proper amount. Means it is well much developed. What is the meaning of developed? That a particular thing is already been developed. Okay, it is not in a condition of still developing and so and so. So developed resources are those resources which are getting in a proper amount and we are using it in appropriate way. Is it fine? Okay, and now the resources that have been surveyed and determined for utilization by the quality wise, their quantity wise also. The resources we are getting in a proper amount. Okay, for example, in an area we are getting the resources, for example Ladakh. For example, take the example of Maharashtra. Okay, Maharashtra is very rich in minerals. Minerals, as we know, are the type of resources. Okay, in minerals we can find some type of metals also, some type of other elements also. Maharashtra is very rich because of the coastal area. It is a coastal area, that is why. Okay, by this we are getting some type of minerals, some important and precious minerals, precious precious metals. Okay, so what happened that we know that this area is rich in so and so metal, so and so element, and we are using that thing in an appropriate manner, in an appropriate way. So what is the meaning of this? This explains that we are very fulfilled and prosperous by that particular thing, and by the quality wise we are aware about it, by the quantity wise that how much we can take from that particular region, how much we can utilize, we can take the resources of from a particular area. Okay, and one more thing that these two, potential resources and developed resources, these two depends on the use of technology also. What happens sometimes if we talk about potential resources, what happens sometimes that we know that this area, this region have a sufficient amount of a particular resource. Okay, but sometimes what happens that we are not that much improved ourselves in technology, and we are not we still didn't have such equipments to use such type of resources properly. That is why we can't able to use the particular resource from a particular area. Understood? For example, in a region in which we know that a particular mineral was there. Okay, a particular mineral was there. Just now I am giving the example of Ladakh. Ladakh is very rich in uranium, finding the uranium at there, but we are not that much developed ourselves in using the technology that we can took out and utilize the uranium of that area. Why? Because we have not been modernized ourselves. It is more difficult to dig out and to take the minerals out from the earth crust and etc etc. So this could be the example for potential resources. Sometimes what happen, we are aware about it, we are aware about the particular resources, okay, and we are not using it. Why we are not using it? Because of the two reasons. Why? First one is that we are taking it in a proper amount and we don't need it in extra way. Okay, second one reason that we know that the area have sufficient amount of resources. We want the resources, but still we are not able to take the resources, to use the resources, because we are not able to take the resources from the nature. Okay, second one is developed resources also. In developed resources also, it depends on the technology, that if we modernize ourselves and influence ourselves in technology, then we can utilize the particular resource in a proper and appropriate amount and way. Now next one, two things we have learned in classification on the basis of development. Okay, the potential and the developed resources. Two more things we will study now: stock and reserves. For example, if we are framing a sentence, we can use two words, stock and reserve, for a single thing. We can use it, but the meaning of these two are different. Okay, the meaning of stock, that we are keeping a particular thing in a bulk amount, okay, and we are not using those resources, means the materials in the environment which have the potential to satisfy human needs, but humans did not have proper technology to access these. Okay, stocks. If we are talking about the stocks are the resources or any type of good, any type of product, anything, okay, those resources which we are having in a bulk amount, which we know that we have so and so thing in a huge amount, in a bulk amount, but still we are not modernize ourselves that much that we can use a particular resource in a proper amount. Okay, those things are included in stock. For example, water is a compound of Yes, example of water. Water is a compound of two inflammable resources, inflammable gases, hydrogen and oxygen. We can use the hydrogen, we can take hydrogen and oxygen by using the water, taking out from that, because the formula, or you can say the of water is H2O. Okay, H2O means two elements of hydrogen and one is of oxygen. It is the combination of two inflammable gases. If we want that we want to make hydrogen gas separate from the oxygen, then we can make it by using the water. Okay, but we are not that much modernized ourselves in technological wise that we can separate these two inflammable gases from water. So this is an example of stocks. Understood all of you? Again I am repeating, stock is a thing which that we know that we have it in a proper amount, in a bulk amount, but we are really not able to use it in a way that we want to use. Okay, so for example, for this water is a compound of two inflammable gases, and those gases are hydrogen and oxygen. The formula for water is H2O, two elements of hydrogen and one is of oxygen. Okay, we can if we are using the technology properly, then we can separate it, but we are not that much modernized ourselves that we can separate hydrogen and oxygen from water. Okay, so this one will be this one is the example of stock. Second one is the reserves. Reserves are the meaning of reserve, the particular thing, the particular good, the particular material which is being kept for using it in the future generation. Okay, reserves are the materials, are the resources we have kept it, we have took out, we have kept it and stored it for using in the future generation. Yes, subset of the stock which are yet to be put into the use with the help of existing technical, these can be used for meeting future requirement. Just now as I have told you, reserves or reservoirs, reserves, etc., these type of things, that means it only represents that we have a particular resource, particular good in a huge amount, by their quality wise, by their quantity wise, we have that, and we took out from the environment by using technology and etc, etc. Okay, and we kept that for using it in our future generations. Okay. Yes, for example, just one example has been written over here. For example, river water. As we know, in the rivers, we all know that in each and every river, 1, 2, 3 dams had been made by the government. Okay, why such type of dams had been made? For keeping the water and using it for generating the hydroelectricity. Okay, we are modernized ourselves that we can generate electricity by the use of water through the dams. Okay, we have modernized ourselves that much, but still we are not making that much electricity by using hydroelectric power. Still we have reserved the water in the dams, and we are using the electricity in a limited amount. Understood? We can make the electricity, what happens, students, we can make the electricity in amount that how much we want. Okay, in a bulk amount we can generate and we can store the electricity, but what happens sometimes that by the dams we are making the electricity by using hydroelectric power, we are making the electricity in a limited amount and we are storing the water in the dams. Why we are storing the dams? That we can use that water for our future. Now next one. Yes, next topic, 4. Again, 4 classification we have understood until now. First one is the classification on the basis of origin, on the classification on the basis of exhaustibility, classification on the basis of ownership, and the lastly classification of on the basis of the development of a particular resource. Now next topic is problems created by indiscriminate use of resources by a man. We all know that as a particular person we are wasting the resources. How can we say this thing that we are wasting the resources? How can we say that? Because we all know that some resources are non-renewable and can be extinct and exhausted after a particular time. We all know that this thing. So for keeping and by using those resources in a proper and particular amount, by using that resources in a proper amount, we can keep it for our future generation or for extended years also. For example, many resources can be depleted. For example, forest. We are grazing the land, we are using the forest, cutting the forest and not planting the trees, etc., etc. These are such examples for the depletion of forest. Okay, one example that we are making the resources extinct. Okay, now next is resources got accumulated in the hands of few people. Yes, what is the meaning of this point? Means that we are having the resources, but what happened, the resource is not in the hands which the particular person is using in a proper amount. For example, sometimes a society, a community is the owner of a resource, okay, but still they are not aware that this particular resource is a non-renewable and going to be extinct after a particular time. They are not aware about it, and sometimes they are aware but still they are wasting that particular resources. So what happens, those resources will extinct before the time. The time when they extinct, before the time it will going to be extinct if we waste it over. Yes, few examples of depletion, environmental degradation and other problem. All these things are the examples created by those things will make the resources depleted or decreased and going to be extinct before their time. Okay, so these are the problems which only humans have created. Now next one is sustainable development. Probably we all are aware about this. Sustainable development, the development which is properly established in a proper amount, which do not going to harm our environment and keeping that the thing that it will not going to be extinct for our future generation. The development, resources development, you can say economic development or resource development also, which does not change our environment, which never going to change our environment, and keeping one thing in our mind, that it will not going to waste for the future generation, that we are keeping those resources for our future generation. These are the example of sustainable development. Sustainable development, again I am explaining the development, economic development which does not harm or change our environment, and at the same time what it makes, that it will remain for our future generations. For example, as you can see in the picture, both the pictures also. Yes, sustainable development means low carbon growth plus resource efficiency, and lastly social inclusivity. Yes, now next one is resource planning. By the word planning, we can say that we are planning for something. Okay, if we are going somewhere, then we always plan our trip. Okay, why we should plan this? So that we can do all the things. Okay, this is the same thing we have to do in each and every manner. For example, in the resources also, if we are having a particular resource, then we should have to plan for that, if we are getting it in 100 amount, and from a land or from anywhere. Okay, if we are in 100% amount, and we want it in 25% or 50%, that what we will do about the 50%, what we will do about for that 50%, that what can do, we can give it to others, or one more thing, that we can store it for our future. Okay, this is just an example. This is just an example for a resource planning. Means that we have to plan. We are for example, if we are having a resource from an area in a good quality, and from another area we are not getting the particular resource in that much good quality. So what can we do? That we can replace the resources. Okay, we can replace it by using the good quality resources. First, what can we do? We can use the bad quality resources instead of wasting the good quality resources. If we are using firstly we are using the good quality resources instead of using the bad one, then what can we do? That we are wasting the bad one also, but at the same time we are wasting the good one also. So this one is the example that we can, firstly what can we do? We can use the bad one first, and after a particular time that we can use the good one afterwards. First one, resource planning is a technique or a skill for a proper use of a resource and for a proper utilization of a resource. Now the three stages of the resource planning. There are three stages in the resource planning. First one is the identification, second one is the planning, and lastly match the resource planning. First one is the identification of the resources. For example, if we are getting the particular resource from a particular area, okay, so we have to identify that how much we can use it in our future or at the same time, okay, for the present time, and how much we can store it for the future time. Identification, okay, and listing of the resources. That we are just now I have given the example of 100% to 50 and 25%. Okay, this is the same thing that if we are getting the particular resource in 100% amount. Okay, we have identified that this much we have got it from the nature or from anywhere, okay, of a particular resource, and this listing means that this much amount we need right now at the present time, okay, and the remaining portion what can we do? We can planning for the exploitation. Next one is planning for the exploitation. That means that we can plan that this 50%, remaining 50%, remaining 25%, remaining 20%, so and so, this remaining part of a such any of the resource will not going to be exploited. It can be stored and keep for our future. Lastly, that whatever plan we have made, we have to match up with the resource development plans and the national development plans. We have to match both the plans. Okay, that what plan we had made and what plan government had made, we have to match both the plans, and by matching those plans, after what happened, after matching both the plans, we have to separate, we have to make the resource and separate it for the present time also and for the future generation if it will not going to be finished. Next one is importance for the resource planning. Just now I have given you some points that it is very much for planning a resource. Just now I have given example that we are going somewhere for a trip. Then we have to plan that we go this place also, this place also, this place also, and this place, and we have to go shopping also. We can do bungee jumping and also so and so. Why should we plan this because that nothing will be remain. Okay, that if this will going to be remain, that we have not have done the shopping of this from this particular area, then we feel that something have left, something had already left it. So just the same thing happened if we didn't plan the thing for the resources also. If we are planning for using a resource, okay, then what we are making the proper use in the present time also, and if the amount is left, then we can make the use of the remaining amount of resources for the future also. Okay, understood all of you? For example, some resources in a particular area are rich and are poor in another resources. For example, the Rajasthan I have given already. Rajasthan is poor in mineral resources but rich in wind and solar energy. So what can we do? We can make the plans for using mineral resources also and energy resources also in Rajasthan. Okay, these are the examples of using resources in a proper amount. Okay, and example of Madhya Pradesh also, that Madhya Pradesh is rich in many mineral resources but not good, and Ladakh, as I have given, Ladakh is poor in potential and another resources. Okay, lastly is the wastage of resources can be avoided by planning. Just now we don't need to waste anything. Environmental pollution we have to stop, because the global warming, ozone layer depletion, these are the examples by the nature we are exploiting it. Okay, and lastly, over exploitation of the resources, over exploitation that we are using in an over amount, that we didn't no need of it, but still we are using it because we have it in bulk amount. So these are the things we have until now. So remaining portion of this chapter we will discuss in the next class. Have a nice day all of you.